Hello, this is Hiroja Shive with another Shive thought bubble, and I'm here to talk about the assassination market. I kind of wanted to save this for the end of the weekend, but given the news about Bitconnect and crypto watchdogs, I thought it was best to kind of talk about assassination market. One second. But before we get into what an assassination market is and the news about Bitconnect and how Bitconnect, of all the dumb things out there in the world that might actually make the assassination market come true, let's talk about some news. So, TechCrunch has this article. I always talk about Pineapple Fund. They've dropped another $1 million on the Sustainable Ocean Alliance in its new accelerator. Um, let's see, the Sustainable Ocean Alliance, according to TechCrunch, is a new accelerator. In case you forget, OSA's vision is to transform brilliant solutions from young people around the world into a revenue generating companies that can scale and have a positive impact on the health and sustainability of the ocean. They applied alongside thousands of others when Pine, as the creator of the fund, goes by, announced the $86 million is up for grabs. Luckily for them, the shadowy figure seems to have a soft spot for, the earth. Among other things, the major donations have been made to the Water Project, Charity Water, Wings for Conservation, and others. The bitcoins have been transferred and cashed out, and the nonprofit is now in possession of the remaining of the $1 million after the usual fees and taxes. Although Fernandez noted that the nonprofit world is totally not ready for this, meaning cryptocurrency, but clearly there's a lot of good waiting to be done using this technology. It's not just day trading and scam ICOs. In the meantime, she said it's nice to see a little guy get some of the big pie. So there is that. Now, some bad news. This is from Bleeping Computer. BitMessage, 0-day used in attacks to steal Bitcoin wallet files by Caitlin Sinupam. So, the maintainer of the BitMessage peer-to-peer encrypted communication protocols have released a fix after discovering that hackers were using a 0-day in attempts to steal Bitcoin wallet files from users' computers. The attacks came to light yesterday, and the 0-day affects PyMessage, a Python-based BitMessage desktop client for Linux, Mac, and Windows. So this is not very good. My understanding, BitMessage, is widely used for OTCs, which are the over the trade counter, like large amounts of Bitcoin trading, and this is not good. If you're using PyMessage 0.62 or later, please shut down your PyMessage app and wait until you see a commit in the repo that fixes it, says Peter Sudu, BitMessage core developer, in a BitMessage text posted on a public chat. This is not a drill. The exploit can have serious consequences. The 0-day allows a remote execution, but is probably crashed for most people before it could execute anything. In the logs, they say attempts to run a window executable and to steal Electrum Bitcoin wallet files. The exploit is triggered by a malicious message, and if you're the recipient, including joined chains, so do on Reddit. Evidence suggests the attackers have targeted Electrum Bitcoin wallets, which are probably the one of the more secure and reliable wallets that people use on a desktop. The attacker ran an automated script, but also opened or tried to open a remote reverse shell. The automatic script looked into Electrum wallets, but when using the reverse shell, he had access to other files as well. Sudo believes the attackers were actively going after Bitcoin wallet files, which may contain private keys. These private keys are passwords for Bitcoin storage accounts and will allow attackers to transfer funds out of victims' wallets. All BitMessage users should change their wallet passwords if users employed additional wallet security or move Bitcoin funds into a new wallet with a different private keys. Sudo also released version 0.632 of BitMessage to address the flaw. Mac and Windows binaries will be released in the coming days. BitMessage is a lesser known instant message client that supports encrypted communications. Users talk to each other using hash IDs in the form of BM, and then there's a long chain number. The 0-day could have been exploited to steal other types of files besides Bitcoin wallets, which Bitcoin message devs or victims may not be aware of at the time of writing. It's highly recommended that users change all passwords, systems, and browser stored credentials just to be sure that they're on the safe side, an opinion shared by Sudo. If you're suspicious that your computer has been compromised, please change all your passwords and create new BitMessage keys. Also, don't contact me on my old address. My keys are more likely also compromised. BitMessage is also a protocol often used by ransomware developers as a way of victims to get in touch and negotiate a ransom payment. It wouldn't be surprised if some ransomware authors lost Bitcoin funds as well. I wonder if the 0-day exploit going after Electrum DAT files or wallets has anything to do with the story I talked about when talking about the um, Bitcoin artists RG game Solve, where there was an individual that had contributed to the 1.6 Bitcoin address wallet in order to bring awareness of the siphoning up of different Bitcoin addresses, uh, the compromised addresses that were using all these different, like maybe easy to crack SHA-256 exploits. And this individual was able to find that. And even though he was able to snag or tag somebody's wallet and wallet address, I think it was like 9 Bitcoins, and return that to them. That was a Bitcoin, not Bitcoin.com, one of the other early wallet companies that wallet was compromised. But it's an exploit that could potentially be out there for people that might have weak passwords, or there might be some type of hidden exploit in one of these wallet um, wallets out there that people are unaware of, because the individual is taking like small amounts of Bitcoins, like less than a Bitcoin, like 0.005 of a Bitcoin, and transferring it all around through the chain to eventually hit one big address, and then taking that amount and things of that nature and going off. I'll link to the show notes to the actual story and my breakdown of it. But I wonder if there's any linkage to that, or it could just simply be just a coincidence, because Bitcoin is often always kind of, just simply attacked all the time. Okay, so I have to get that. Let's see, what other news we were talking about? I think we were talking about Tim Draper is seeking to start a VC accelerator similar to Y Combinator, but for cryptocurrency. This is something that I think would be very beneficial for the space. I don't think it's Tim Draper. I think it might be his son. Hold on. Let's get the show notes up. I so need to get a new computer. I've been saying that for the last 3 years now. Did get a new computer, but just wasn't good enough. Adam Draper. Yeah, it's his son that's doing this. So Tim Draper, the father, was one of the big Silk Road U.S. Marshals winners of winning the Bitcoin. He's been around the space, financing and contributing to different Bitcoin-related companies. But Adam Draper, his son, who was the one who got his father into the Bitcoin space, he wants to boost VC close his new funds to become the Y Combinator of sci-fi startups. So sentiment about cryptocurrencies are fickle as the price of a token, but everyone can agree on one thing. Cryptocurrency is a hot topic. A year ago, however, before initial coin offerings became a thing, it was an easy task to draw crowds around crypto startups. This is something Adam Draper, the son of the renowned venture capitalist Tim Draper, has been working on via Boost VC, the accelerator he co-founded in June 2012 and is now managing. The concept behind it being the Y Combinator of the sci-fi startups, the San Mateo, California-based accelerator kicked off its 11th tribe this week with a cohort of 20 startups and announced the close of its third funding of $38.6 million. Even though Boost VC initially focused on Bitcoin, is now expanded to include other verticals such as virtual reality, jetpacks, and space startups. Draper, who's a fan of science fiction and comic books, wants to nurture futuristic startups that aren't part of the established market. And we chose Bitcoin as initial focus, and that gave us a brand. People knew why to come to Boost. We were able to incubate the leaders in the market. Now we're exploring a new sector. The accelerator says it currently has 220 portfolio companies, which include Repo, Kubus, Roma, Etherscan, and Argon. One of the more notable startups in the BTC portfolio is Coinbase, which Draper has invested early on and as an angel. This has certainly paid off as the digital currency exchange is now valued over $1 billion. So this will be interesting to see what happens. I think Vitalik Buterin, one of the creators of Ethereum, talked about how, we need to kind of think beyond just cryptocurrencies, think about the things that we can do, things that be lasting and have meaningful impact. And it's clear that Adam Draper is kind of going in that direction to try to have some meaningful impact in some certain sectors that might not be actually getting quite the right kind of VC boost or funding that exists out there. And some radical ideas are necessary to propel things forward. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Here we go. Paste and go. Drop that one. And lastly, before we talk about the Assassination Marketplace. So dissidents have been abandoned to besiege online. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about this, about how cybersecurity and just journalism and governments and people in general are not really helping or protecting human rights activists and dissidents. So neither government nor the cybersecurity community have taken the responsibility of protecting human rights activists from hacking or surveillance. You have everything that's been going on from iPhone exploits to, servers, Tor, de-anonymization, people getting arrested for having exit nodes, all sorts of shenanigans and craziness. WhatsApp, Telegram, Twitter, all these different places apps being shut down from various governments, entire internet being shut down. Twitter helping provide the real identity or location to certain types of dissidents, to different governments. It's really bad. Sitting in the archives of the cybersecurity service, VeriTotal is an artifact, a piece of malware sent in late 2012 to the Iranian journalist Vahid Pour-Astoud. Pour-Astoud's history is emblematic of the many prominent journalists of his generation. After a brief period of relative openness allowed a vibrant press to flourish at the turn of the century, hardline elements of the Iranian government responded to these changes by prosecuting journalists and closing newspapers. Pour-Astoud paid a high cost for his critical investigation of the country's legal system. He was arrested multiple times, fired from newspapers, and ultimately forced to leave Iran. The malware in question was sent by a Ministry of Intelligence agent that had interrogated Pour-Astoud, attached as a threat in leveraging private records that would have been available only to someone collaborating with the government. By the time Pour-Astoud had enough experience with spear phishing attempts to recognize the attack. What Pour-Astoud was unaware was that the same actors attempted to hack him were implemented a broad campaign of surveillance of dissidents and perceived foreign adversaries. For several years, we have conducted research on targeted attacks against civil society and activists in Iran and elsewhere. From these experiences, one lesson particularly stands out. Human rights defenders and journalists are a canary in the coal mine for the attacks, used to steal military secrets, coerce perceived foreign adversaries, and undermine critical infrastructure. Despite this chilling predicament, those at-risk populations are afforded sustainable less opportunities to protect themselves and often relegated to the margins of conversation about cybersecurity. This inequity is the detriment of everyone and must change if we want to improve the internet of all communities. So we will kind of go more into this about the dissident and stuff. I just kind of want to give you a flavor of this motherboard article. There's a few other articles I have found, but I think it's very important about the need to kind of step up and protect dissidents and protect them, not just, with security measures and things of that nature, but also legally and giving them sanctuary and allowing them to talk and communicate and not have the fear of reprisal or attack by any type of government or company or corporation or organized body that just doesn't like them. So there's that. There's a little hint of most likely next week's discussion and how Bitcoin can tie into this, and funding and enabling better censorship resistant organizations, but for example, like WikiLeaks, but just censorship in general, and just undermining a lot of these different governmental infrastructures. So I need to go back here. Oh, and just because we're talking about cyberpunk stuff, I have a link in the show notes about how you can lockpick. It's the MIT guide to lockpicking. So, what is an assassination market? Let's kind of talk about the term, talk a little bit about the origin, its quiet period, examples of potentially coming into existence, and some negative effects of using the internet, if you will, to met out justice. And we'll talk about one of the primary reasons why we're talking about the assassination market, just beyond just simply because it's a cypherpunk concept, but what has happened recently in the Bitconnect ongoing saga. So before we get into all that, we have to define what the assassination market is. So sorry, my browser has more than like 3 tabs. It just freezes up, so I can't pre-populate all of these stories. So here we go for the Wicca. So the assassination market is a predictive market where any party can place a bet using anonymous electronic money and pseudonymous remailers on the date of death of a given individual and collect a payoff if they guess the date accurately. This would incentivize assassination of individuals because assassins, knowing when the action would take place, could profit by making an accurate bet on the time of the subject's death. Because the payoff is for accurately picking the date rather than performing the action of the assassin, it's assumedly more different to sign criminal liability for the assassination. So, for example, we'll talk about some of these stories in here where people were seeking to, assassinate President Barack Obama, President Trump, different political leaders, saying that they will, like, for example, President Barack Obama will die May 26, 2013. Placing a bet or a bounty of $500 or something like that. And then some assassin would go about trying to collect that $500 in money to make it happen. That, President Barack Obama would die on May 26, 2013. Now, how this, those are big political and heavily hard targets to obtain. But for example, when I read the 2-Bit Idiots, Ryan Zelka's post, his 95 thesis, he talked about how he feared that the assassination market were a couple years away from actually happening, and how you would go after journalists because they're covering a story about, so for example, Mt. Gox, which is what he was known for, and how he stated that because of the fallout from that, he wouldn't do another Mt. Gox story. So, for example, say Mark Karopoulos, not saying that he would do this, but maybe not Mark Karopoulos. Say some Bitcoin companies doing some shady activity. Say something like Bitconnect, which actually kind of sort of happened if you look at what happened with Ken Bozak. Ken Bozak, if you're unfamiliar with him, is a YouTuber. He was part of the Bitcoin podcast network. He does, vlogs, tutorials, interviews with people within the community. And he was doing how-tos about Bitconnect and how it was a scam. He signed up for Bitconnect. He even had a little bit of referrals, but he was just kind of breaking down how this system of giving you a 1% return is not going to work. And he broke down and did a series of videos about this. And there was a bounty put on his head through the dark web of like 2 Bitcoin, my understanding, to take his, basically destroy his electronic reputation. So his Google account was taken down, so his YouTube was taken down, his Twitter was taken over, his emails were taken over. He lost some Litecoin out of one of the Bitpetite, which turned out to also be a scam that he was looking into. Like he lost like 11 Litecoin. He lost some cryptocurrencies. He also lost a bit of his reputation because I guess he didn't two-factor authenticate some of his accounts. He wasn't as secure as he should have been, if you will. He lost contact and contact information. He was able to restore his YouTube account. It took a while. He was able to restore his Facebook, his Twitter, and all of this was because he was talking about the company Bitconnect. Now, some people think it might have been one particular promoter that might have been put the bounty out and targeted him, but it's all tangled into the whole concept of that company and that association, that product Bitconnect. And these are things that could cause people to not, vocalize or talk about, the scams or the badness of, or the actions of a particular company. This already happens in the real life anyways. If you look at people that go after like the gas companies or Oxycontin or what happened with the No Doppler up in North Dakota, journalists were arrested, people were getting sued, they were getting, the government, these companies, that help elect, the sheriffs and the mayors and the county officials and the judges in the area were using their pressure and politicalness to have all these different types of charges put up against people. And even if they were all dropped or cleared, you still have to pay all the lawyer's fee. You're in jail. You don't have access to all your funds. Your reputation is destroyed. You may even lose your job, your place, your medical employment. You can ruin somebody financially just by charging somebody with a crime and not actually having them get convicted. And so these are ways of kind of silencing dissidents, if you will. And then in some cases, like particularly in Russia, Iran, even some say here in the States, journalists have been killed. They've been murdered because they've asked the wrong type of questions. And this would be a free for all, free forum where anybody, not just maybe people of a specific interest, but anybody can put up a predictive date for any individual and see what happens, see if it actually occurs. And this was talked about through the cypherpunk movement. And we'll read about Jim Bell's assassination politics, but it came out of Timothy May's Cypherconian, where there was a proposal of this type of a concept, and it's very radical and very I guess you can say crypto arnicus. I can't say the word properly. Um, to go after people you don't like, or try to put pressure on large bodies or large entities to behave in a better manner, or seek justice in some fashion. But that's just not how it's going to work in the real world. And that's why many people have criticized the concept of the assassination marketplace or assassination of politics. So let's see. So that was from the Wicca. This is from Rational Wicca. The Internet Assassination. Since the early days of the deep web, various websites have arisen claiming to offer various assassination services. They fall into 3 subtypes with highly varying verifiable and prospective authenticity. ClearNet's attempts are more hilarious, and the media appears more skeptical of such areas. Individual sites. One such notorious site, Jutola, has been reported as a face value by various media outlets. It advertises a variety of services, including rape, underage rape, maiming, bombing, crippling, and murder. It's currently run by a former member of the French Foreign Legion and accepts bit message, contact only. Another such site, Unfriendly Solutions, purportedly run by an individual with several years of experience as an assassin. In March 2013, Business Insider performed a roundup of other such individual sites, including Mason, White Wolves, Professionals, an unnamed site, and Chitola, when they got a bit of a stick for it. In February 2016, a site appears entitled The Charity for Donald Trump's Assassination. As of January 4th, 2016, the Bitcoin address has received 0.00354926 in BTC. Also, stocking descriptions of service may make headlines, and there's no evidence that these are legitimate services or scams. Oh, I didn't want to do all that. Let me see if we can find the Bitcoin address. Nope. All right. Predictive sites. Possibly the most intriguing model is the Assassination Market. A model was first proposed by crypto anarchist Jim Bell in his 1995 essay, Assassination Politics. He argued the ever-present threat of assassination could encourage accountability among politicians and lawmakers. Apparently, Mr. Bell isn't discouraged by the possibility of abuse of such a system for a purpose of terrorism or mob rule, or the suppression of minority groups or opinions. Founded in the early days of Tor, the eponymous Assassination Market has been described as a Kickstarter but for murder. A Toniet-like system is run where users can pay bitcoins to a wallet address, supporting an individual that would like killed. A prospective assassin can place a prediction into the wallet along with their own address should they attempt to claim the bounty. Should they succeed, the anonymous proprietor of the website, having confirmed the assassination via news media, could pay out the bounty completely anonymously. The site shut down in June 2014, but still holds 180 BTC total bounty. Wow. And of course, there's like Craigslist and Facebook, and that's just more about just assassinations. The Silk Road stuff is bogus, but just kind of give you a little flavor, different perspectives of what is out there. And this is just a copy of what's out there on the actual Wicca. So let's talk about. So we're not going to read Tim May's Cypherpunk. We'll be here all day breaking that down. But I do have a link in the show notes to it. Peace and go. Right here. We'll read the introduction and the mostly frequently asked questions. Okay, so forward and motivation. Okay, the cypherpunks have existed since September 1992, and that time a vast amount has been written on the cryptography, key, escrow, clipper, the net, information superhighways, cyber, terrorists, and crypto anarchy. We have found ourselves or placed ourselves at the center of the storm. This FAQ may help to fill in some gaps about what we're about, what motivates us, and where we're going, and maybe some useful knowledge on crypto remailers, anonymity, digital cash, and other interesting things. So it's from the cypherpunk movement that we get things like the cryptography that is utilized kind of in the like Telegram, Signal, those type of services, Proton Mail, anonymity in general, being anonymous, Tor, the use of Tor and other types of services similar to that, digital cash, Bitcoin, things of that nature, all came our genesis from this group. This FAQ may help. Okay, so the basic issues, the Great Divide, privacy versus compliance with laws. Free speech and privacy even means some criminals cannot be caught. A stand the U.S. Constitution was strongly in favor of at one time. A man's home is his castle, the essence of the Magna Carta system, rights of the individual to be secure from random searches. Or invasion tactics to catch criminals, regulate behavior, and control the population. legitimate needs to enforce laws to respond to situations. This parallels the issue of self-protection versus protection by law and police. As seen in the gun debate, crypto equals guns in the sense of being an individual's preemptive protection, past the point of no return. Strong crypto as building materials of the new age, transnationalism, and increased degrees of freedom. Governments can't help to control movements and communication of citizens, and transparent borders are transparent. So, for example, like Telegram, WhatsApp, and Signal, in some case, I guess you can say Facebook Messenger if you turn it on. Because these end-to-end encryptions allow for people to communicate, form groups, and talk to one another, you can have things like what's going on in Iran. Twitter, which is more clear, but Telegram came into play a bit there, as well as Tor. You had the whole Tunisia and Arab Spring movement. You have some things going on a little bit in China, but like South Korea, with the fact that they don't like, they basically took down their sitting president because of Samsung and the corruption going on there. The rallying that the internet has allowed for things like the Black Lives Movement, even the Tea Party, Occupy Wall Street, No DAPLA, the nuclear disarmament movement, animal rights activism, environmentalism, just a gathering of people not being able to control and prevent them from being able to communicate with one another. This is something that many governments fear, particularly the fact that many governments have fallen or have been seeing their power dampened because of this, and because they can't see what people are doing all the time or control what they're doing all the time. This has caused a fear in many different types of corrupt aspects of the government, but even people that are not corrupt because they fear the lack of control. So this is what cryptography does, encryption does for people, is allow them to have control of their livelihoods and what they can say, the communication, to be able to speak. Not all listeners members share our views. It's not the official Cypherpunk's FAQ. No such thing can exist. It's the FAQ I wanted written. Views expressed are my own, with as much input from others, as much consent as I can imagine. If you want a radically different FAQ, write it yourself. If you don't like this FAQ, don't read it, and tell your friends not to read it. But don't bog me my mailbox or the 500 others on the list with message about how you have worded section, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this list has a lot of radical libertarianism, some anarcho-capitalism, and even a few socialists. Mostly computer-related folks, as might expected. There are some political scientists, classical scholars, etc., even a few current or ex-lawyers. Do I speak for others? As I said, no, but sometimes I make claims about the most list members believe, what many believe, or what some people believe. Most is my best judgment of the majority believe, at least the vocal majority in the cypherpunk discussions. Like many lists, many means fewer and some fewer still, a few, which means a distinct minority. Note that this is not for the least 18 months of activity. So, okay. Motivations. With so much material available, why another FAQ? No convenient access to archives of lists, and who could read 50 megabytes of stuff anyway? Wow. 50 megabytes is considered a lot back then. Why not web, mosaic, HTTP, or URL, etc.? Why not a navigable web document? This is becoming trending. Lots of URLs are included here. In fact, but making all documents into web documents has a downside. Wow, how times have changed. Reasons why not. No easy access for me. Many others also lack access. Text still rules. Not all clear that collection of hundreds of fragments is useful, and I like the structure editor available on my Mac. What the essential points are. It's easy to lose track of what the core issues are. So this is very early on in the internet, this creation of this documented device. And he just breaks it down in a text format. And if you look at here, you can see about how he's already talking about easy access for all, and how text is much better than having converting everything to a web page, because not everyone has access to the web page or URLs. How you can just kind of type everything up like a kind of a newsletter or a newspaper, and everyone would be able to have access to this. So this Cypher Nicomium talked about digital cash, activism and projects, reputation and credentials,
crypto anarchy, the future, policy, legal issues, surveillance, pretty good privacy, PGP, anonymity, digital mixes and remailers, which you can think of as mixers and mailers for Bitcoin, CoinJoin, or things of that nature. So a lot of the genesis of what is being discussed in this space was being implemented in this space. A lot of it came from this movement, and this is, you might say, a consolidation of those ideas into one document. Not all those ideas, not all fleshed out, but a good chunk of them at the time. So Jim Bell. So, Assassination Politics by Jim Bell. Part 1. So this came out in 95. I've been following the concepts of digital cash and encryption since I read the article in August 1992 issue of Scientific America on encrypted signatures. While I've only followed the digital liberty area for a few weeks, I already see a number of points that do and should strongly concern the average and savvy individual. 1. How can we translate the freedom afforded by the internet to ordinary life? 2. How can we keep the government from banning encryption, digital cash, and other systems that will improve our freedom? Again, all these things that we're still discussing even now. A few months ago, I truly, quite literally, revolutionary idea and jokingly called it assassination politics. I speculated on the question of whether an organization can be set up to legally announce that rewarding a cash prize to somebody who can correctly predict the death of one on the list of violators of rights, usually either government employees, office holders, or appointees. It would ask for anonymous contributions from the public, and individuals could be able to see these contributions using digital cash. I also speculate that using modern methods of public key encryption and anonymous digital cash, it could be possible to make such awards in such a way so that nobody knows who is getting awarded the money, only that the award is given. And even the organization itself would have no information that will help authorities find the person responsible for the prediction, let alone the one who caused the death. It was my intent to provide such a tough nut to crack by arguing the general case, claiming that the person who hires a hitman is not guilty of murder under libertarian principles. Obviously, the problem with the great general case is that the victim may be totally innocent under libertarian principles, which would make the killing a crime, leading to the question of whether the person offering the money was himself guilty. You know, this is a whole problem with libertarians sometimes. Because they don't actually commit the action, then maybe they're not responsible in some cases. It gets a little weird. I'm not going to get too into it, but here we go. On contrary, my speculation assumes that the victim is a government employee, presumably one who's not merely taken a paycheck or stolen tax dollars, but also is guilty of extra violation of rights beyond this. Government agents responsible for Ruby Ridge incident and Waco come to mind. In receiving such money in his various acts, he violates the non-aggression principle, or NAP. Thus, presumably, any acts against him are not the intention of force under libertarian principles. So because they have committed violence against others or used violence to coerce others, and then they're basically, in essence, forfeit. The organization such demand in such a system could presumably make up a list of people who seriously violate the NAP, but who could not see justice in other courts due to the fact that the actions were done at the behest of the government. Associated with each name would be a dollar figure, the total amount of the money the organization would receive as a contribution, which is the amount they would give for correctly predicting the person's death presumably naming the exact date. Guessers would formulate their guess into a file, encrypt it with the organization's public key, then transmit it to the organization, possibly using methods as traceable as putting a floppy disk in an envelope and tossing it into a mailbox. But more likely, either a cascade of encrypted anonymous emailers or possibly public access internet locations such as terminals at local libraries, etc. In order to prevent such a system from becoming simply a random unpaid lottery in which people can randomly guess a name and date and hoping the liking would strike as it occasionally does, it would be necessary to determine such random guessing requiring the guesser to include with their guess encrypted and untraceable digital cash in an amount sufficiently high to make random guessing impractical. So you would have to put some skin into the game in order to participate in the assassination market. For example, if the target was, say, 50 years old and had a life expectancy of 30 years, or about 10,000 days, the amount of money required to register a guess must be at least 1/10 of the amount, or 1/10,000th of the amount of the award. In practice, the amount required should be far higher, perhaps as much as 1/1000th amount, since you can assume that anybody making a guess will feel sufficiently confident of the guess to risk 1/1000th of his potential reward. The digital cash would be placed inside the outer encryption envelope and they could be decrypted using the organization's public key. The prediction itself could include name and date, and it would be itself another encryption envelope inside the first one would be encrypted using the key that is only known to the predictor himself. In this way, the organization could decrypt the outer envelope, find the digital cache, but they have no idea what is being predicted in the innermost envelope, either the name or the date. And it kind of goes a little bit further about predictions and the method of how to make this happen. The digital cash process recipient. So part 2. At the village pizza shop, as they were sitting down to consume a pepperoni, Dorothy asked Jim, "So what other inventions are you working on?" "I got a new idea. It was really revolutionary, literally revolutionary." "Okay, Jim, which government are you planning to overthrow?" she asked, playing along. "All of them," answered Jim. Political implications. Imagine for a moment that an ordinary citizen were watching the evening news. They see an act by the government employee or office holder that they feel violates their rights, abuses the public trust, or misuses the power that they feel they should be limited. A person whose actions are so abusive and improper that the citizenry should have to tolerate it. What if they go to their computers, type in the miscreant's name, and select a dollar amount? The amount they themselves would be willing to pay to anyone who predicts the office holder's death. That donation would be sent, encrypted anonymously, to a central registry organization and be told with a total amount available within seconds to an interested individual. If only 0.1% of the population, or 1 person in 1,000, was willing to pay $1 to see some government sign ball dead, that would be in fact $250,000 bounty on his head. Further, imagine that anyone considering collecting bounty could do so with a mathematical certainty they could not be identified and collect the reward without meeting or even talking to anybody who could later identify him. Perfect anonymity, perfect secrecy, and perfect security. And that, combined with the ease and security with these contributions could be collected, could make being an abusive government employee an extremely risky proposition. Chances are good that nobody above the level of a county commissioner would even risk taking office. So this was intended to pressure governments, but as I stated, this could also be used to go after innocent people. No military. One of the attractive potential implications of such a system could be that we might not even need a military to protect the country. Any threatening or abusive foreign leader would be subject to the same contribution assassination reward system, and it would operate just as effectively over the borders as it does domestically. This country has learned in numerous examples subsequent to many wars that only the political disputes between leaders has ceased. We ordinary citizens are able to get along pretty well with citizens of other countries. Classic example are post-World War II Germany, Japan, and Italy, and post-Soviet Russia, the Eastern Bloc, Albania, and many others. Contrary examples are those in which the political disputes remain, such as North Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Cuba, Red China, and a few others. In all these examples, the opposing leaders were not defeated either in a war or an internal power struggle. Clearly, it's not the people who maintain the disputes, but the leadership. And then he goes on talking about leaders. Okay, so the answer revealing is quite strongly logical. If we can kill their leader, they can kill our leaders too. That would avoid the war, but the leadership on both sides could be dead, and guess who is making the decision about what to do? That's right, leaders. And leaders, both theirs and ours, would rather see 30 million ordinary people die in World War II and lose their own lives if they can get away with it. Same in Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, and numerous other disputes around the globe. You can see that as long as we continue to allow leaders, both ours and theirs, to decide who should die, they will always choose the ordinary people of each country. One reason leaders have been able to avoid this solution is simple. While it's comparatively easy to get away with murder, it's a lot harder to reward the person who does it, and the person is definitely taking a serious risk. Most murders are solved based on some prior relationship between the murderer and the victim, or observation of witnesses who know either the murderer or the victim. Historically, it's been essentially impossible to adequately motivate an assassin, ensuring his safety and anonymity as well, if only because it been impossible to pay him in the form that nobody can trace and ensure the silence of all potential witnesses. Even if a person was willing to die in the act, he would want to know that the people he chose would get the reward. But if they themselves were identified, that they would be targets of revenge. All that's changed with the advent of public key encryption and digital cash. So, because of these two inventions, you can, in essence, have an assassination market. And I believe that a system has tremendous implications for the future of freedom. Libertarians, in particular, and I'm a libertarian, should pay particular attention to the fact that this system encourages, if not an anarchist outcome, at least a minimum anarchist minimal government system, because no large government structure could survive in its current form. In fact, I would argue that the system would solve a potential problem occasionally postulate with the adoption of libertarianism in one country surrounded by non-libertarian states. It could have reasonably been suspected that the gradual shift to a libertarian political and economic system remains remnants of a non-libertarian system such as the military would have to survive to protect society against the threats represented by foreign states. While certainly possible, it would have been hard of an average native person to imagine how the country would maintain a $250 billion military budget based on voluntary contributions. So this would, in essence, prevent, a changing of the guard, if you will, would prevent the further corrosion and the corruption of different types of uh, bad actors, if you will, continuing forward if people were just getting assassinated right and left. Okay, so so right here, and I think I've pretty much covered what the assassination politics is. So on keep donors as well as the predictor is absolutely anonymous, not only the public and each other, but also the organization itself, either before or after the prediction comes true. Ensure that neither the organization nor the donors nor the public is aware of the contents of the prediction unless until it later becomes true. That ensures that none of the other participants can be guilty of knowing this before it happens. 3. Provide the donors, including the potential future predictors, the organization, and the public that indeed somebody predicted a particular death on a particular date before it actually happened. Prove to the donors and the public, including potential future predictors, that the amount of money promised was actually paid to whomever made the prediction that later came true. This is important, obviously, because you don't want any potential predictor to doubt whether he'll get the money if he makes a successful prediction, and you don't want any potential donor to doubt that his money is actually going to go to a successful predictor. 5. Prevent the organization and the donors and the public from knowing for sure whether the predictor actually had anything to do with the death predictor. This is true even hypothetically somebody's later caught convicted of murder which was the subject of a successful prediction. Even after identifying the murderer through other means, it would be impossible for anyone to know if the murderer and the predictor were the same person. And 6. Allow the predictor, if he so chooses, to give the award, possibly quite anonymously, to any other person, one perhaps totally unaware of the source of the money, without anyone else knowing of this. And then, of course, there was, people that weren't exactly completely thrilled with this particular, you can say, essay or manifesto. So, okay, so this is one of the big issues. What if they go to the computers, type in the miscreant's name, and what happens when the KKK or any other asinine racist group gets into it and starts ensuring in all the names of every Jewish person, black person, Asian person, etc., they don't particularly care for, that innocent people will be killed only because of their nationality? You're assuming that America has macho enough people to only select guilty people. You're wrong, dead wrong. And this is one of the big problems that people have had, is because, like any tool, it can be misused.
Okay, so that's basically what an assassination marketplace is. Um, assassination politics, the concept, it comes from the cypherpunk movement. Nothing really came much of it, if you will, until probably the advent of Bitcoin. Because the remailing and being anonymous, those activities have been around for a long time. But being able to be paid in a private manner, in a digital cash manner, without anyone kind of tracking you down and figuring you out, had not yet been invented. Now, Bitcoin has been proven to not be as private as people would like it to be, but there's Monero, there's Zcash, I guess maybe Dash or something like that. But here we go. So like most of the cypherpunk ideas about cryptography, anonymity, digital cash, it took a while for those things to come to fruition. Yes, we have PGP, but now we have things like Signal and Telegram, and the encryptions, phones, and in phones we have Tor, which is far better than it has been in the past because it's always constantly improving. And there's other cryptographic emails and messaging services out there, as well as people actively seeking to decentralize the internet and making it encrypted and making it difficult for people to track and find and know everything there is about you. With the advent of Bitcoin, taking the concept of digital cash come into existence in 2009, this began to, I guess you can say, bring the concept of assassination market back into place. Because now with encryption, um, encrypted communication, Tor, VPNs, and now with digital cash, you can now bring forth something like this into existence. Now, Bitcoin really hasn't really gotten this, I can say, the large value that most people seek it in until maybe recently in the last couple of years, where now it's going back up to $10,000, one Bitcoin. That's quite a bit of if you're thinking in fiat, that's quite a bit of fiat. If you're thinking in terms of Bitcoin, there's still ways to go for the value of Bitcoin. But anyways, so there was a quiet period with the assassination market, and this article talks about this in 2015. So whatever happened to the crowdsourced assassination marketplace? I've demonstrated that internet assassination is not a real thing last month, but there was one stone left unturned. This was the assassination marketplace crowdsourced site. What happened to the Bitcoin apparently transferred to kill prominent figures? Is the site still up? Was it a scam? Thanks to a year of market scraps from Grun, these questions can be answered for the first time. For some background, proprietor Kunabi gave an interview with Annie Gerber when the site was launched in 2017, saying how he sees the market fulfilling a moral purpose of public figure accountability. So someone tried to make this happen. There was a period of time where it wasn't possible, and then someone tried to make it happen, and then it got shut down. And again, Grun is one of my favorite internet people out there. And he talks about the darknet marketplaces. He has a great breakdown of Silk Road, as well if you're into manga, Death Note. So this talks about the attempt to make an assassination marketplace happen, and of course, none of these things happened. No one was actually ever assassinated, if you will. So here was some of the hits. The list itself prior to the shutdown in June 2014 looked like this. I've added links to their respective wallets on the blockchain info, but what happened to the money? Was there any money to start with? Let's examine each of these wallets.
So Evan Karn Beast ask of Sweden, alive, 1 Bitcoin. So let's see even if now on the blockchain, if this article was written in 2015, it's 2018 now, if it's still there. Yes, there is. There's still active Bitcoin in there. Barack Obama, 40 Bitcoin. 40.25 Bitcoin still there. Robert Clapper Jr. Blockchain wallet was the wallet I couldn't think of earlier when talking about the compromised wallets. 1.97 Bitcoin still there. Let's see the BTC to USD because people care about that. 40 for Barack Obama. Wow. Oh, I might have gone too big here. Ah! Frozen. So 40 BTC is about like $10,000. So again, 1 Bitcoin is about $10,000. So a lot of these go from 20,000 to 40 Bitcoin, and of course, all these people are still alive. So while on paper, an assassination market, or in theory and discussions, could occur, people actually going about and doing it is completely, a completely different thing. And mind you, that these are government officials that have security details and the backing of their government and surveillance protecting them. So getting to them is going to be very, very difficult. I don't know. There was like 180 BTC in the various wallets. And let's see. 180 BTC is roughly a little bit over $1 million if you were able to collect all the assassinations, if you will, or figure out a way to hack into these wallets. So again, there was a quiet period of someone trying to do this. There is the interview with Andy Greenberg linked in the show notes. The dark website article about going after Donald Trump, and the Hitman Network says it accepts Bitcoin for murder for hire. But why are we talking about this? So there is this group. Come on. According to Bloomberg, these crypto investors want revenge on the scammers who ripped them off, by Oleg Karlev and Rob Urban. This came out yesterday. They're angry. They say they got ripped off. 6 of the alleged victims filed a federal lawsuit against Bitconnect, the company they said roasted them on a multi-level marketing cryptocurrency deal. The lawyer says they may be able to recoup some of their $771,000 investment, but even after the state regulators in Texas and North Carolina banned Bitconnect, it will be difficult. So they decided to take justice in their own hands, and they're calling themselves crypto watchdogs. And while they're being secretive of their identities, they're offering a bounty for information on anyone involved with Bitconnect. Eventually, they say the payments will be made in justice coins, which they will mint. We're coming for everyone, every one of you, Crypto Dog says on his website, where it posts videos of people it believes are linked to Bitconnect. We know where you are, what you're doing, and when. Alleged victims describe Bitconnect as a multi-level or pyramid marketing, with participants earning commission for recruiting others, and attempts to contact the company for comment were unsuccessful. The frustration isn't limited to Bitconnect. In crypto world, which suffers from a pandemic of scams, it's not difficult to get suckered. Many crypto investment sites don't supply contact information, and many of their owners are based outside the U.S. There's also the issue of oversight. Crypto world has very little. In fact, there's some concern. Jay Clayton, chairman of the Securities Exchange Commission. So he talks about the SEC thing. So at the same time, crypto watchdogs call for crowdsourced gestures can backfire with innocent people getting hurt. And the retribution may not fit the transgression. It's entirely possible that Bitconnect alleged wrongdoing doesn't rise to the level of a crime. With Bitconnect, new users would deposit Bitcoin and receive Bitconnect coins that they will lend at an interest rate of more than 40% a month. The interest they earned would be higher if they recruited others to invest their Bitcoins into Bitconnect. American jurisdiction. Multi-level marketing is not illegal, says Peter Henning, a former Securities and Exchange Commission Justice Department lawyer who is now a professor at Wayne State University Law in Detroit. My guess is the top people are far beyond American jurisdiction. While crypto boosting fund manager Michael Novak warned that Bitconnect looked like a Ponzi scheme, the high and quick profits prove irresistible to many and often people who invested their retirement money or mortgaged their home to participate. I think of the young techies, big hedge funds are investing in coins, but these are things that have reached the demographic of elderly persons and retirees. Not extortion. A letter sent to Bitconnect employees and promoters and posted on the crypto web watchdog site says the group has accumulated 350 evidence files and lists law enforcement intelligence agencies that they will receive the damning information if the recipient failed to pay them back. This is not an extortion letter, it says, but an invitation for a settlement which offers you the opportunity to negotiate the possibility of refunding your former investors. Some Bitconnect promoters have added their names to the list of victims posted on the site, prompting an online outcry. Bitconnect top people have so far eluded unmasking. The company's registered UK and lists names of directors, but UK rules don't require directors or registers companies to provide identification. 2 Bitconnects. Documents show 4 different companies registered with the name. I looked into there's nobody named Kim Fitzmans, and the building that is allegedly is like an apartment building that has a few business offices in it. Okay. So crypto watchdogs are mostly anonymous to going by handles such as Mr. D, Chris Summers, who answered media requests, said the group has more than 1,000 registered on its Bitconnect victim spreadsheet. The group is asking interested people to contribute $100 each for the forthcoming justice coins. The money will be used to track down Bitconnect owners. In our organization, we started a slogan that we love to use, as Summer said. It goes like this. We have enough dirt on Bitconnect with its promoters and directors that we would dig up a hole, throw them in there, and still have enough to build a mountain on top of it. So this is why I'm talking about the assassination market place again, because it is also a little silly and it's also a little dumb. But if you look at the crowdsourced justice things from, and I have a link in the show notes from what happened with the Boston bombers when that happened on Reddit, where people were trying to track down who the Boston bombers were using video files and information, and ended up finding somebody who was actually dead, who had committed suicide, and the pain of that for the family. And then there's, swatting, where people send police as pranks to others people location, and the first death occurred in Kansas on that. Never mind the amount of resources, of government resources are used to go to these locations thinking that there's a hostage situation and there's not. Let's see if the site will come up. I was having issues last night. I'm wondering if they're getting DOSed or something. So here we go. It doesn't look like the best looking site here. It looks very early InfoWars like, almost kind of anonymous like, very garbage looking. And I would it would be very ironic if the person who set this up is also the Bitconnect scammer too. But anyways, so you register for recruitment bounty hunt. Justice Coin airdrop programs will end within the next 44 days. They have official YouTube channel, official Twitter channel. So let's look into this. And even though it sounds very silly, and they're using their own coin to mint to track down people associated with Bitconnect, this could easily go very, very, very wrong. You could have people get hurt. The wrong person being associated with Bitconnect has nothing to do with Bitconnect. Yeah. This by in a fashion, while it seems like it's no different than someone hiring a private investigator and tracking these people down, but that's more of a legitimate fashion. It's done very quietly, it's done very professionally, it's not being crowdsourced. And like I said, this could get very, very, I don't want to chat with you. So this is their YouTube channel. I might just subscribe to it just for the lulz. But this could, because people are so irrational. They were very irrational to get into Bitconnect in the first place, and now they might actually, go forth and track these people down and either put a beat down or worse, death. This might actually, this dumb thing, Bitconnect, might actually bring about the assassination marketplace into real life, where a bounty is being put forth to find information, and you might end up finding death, if you will. It's very silly. Already there was an assassination marketplace that was supposed to take the Jim Bell's principles and a little bit of the what Timothy May was talking about getting a kind of a libertarian viewpoint of the world. Going after government officials, but people, as always pointed out, with the whole assassination marketplace, you can easily get, you know, you can easily get innocent people caught up in this. Or, as I read from the Google thread there, one of the second comments, you can have the KKK just put up, Jewish, Black, and Asian people and put up bounties and assassinations and crowdfund it. And they would get it funded, and people will go out and do that. They just will. Because A, it's money. Maybe they don't care or see it suits their cause, and they will. So from February 1st to 10th of April, phase 1, contributors will be able to register for the recruitment bounty hunt and AJC token airdrop. Between the 1st and the 15th of April, tokens will be airdropped, and all contributors will receive an email with an invitation code to the private chamber, as well as the notification to download the XJC wallet from our website and provide the wallet address via email reply for the AGC token to be received. Each contributor can only apply once. Phase 2. Well, that's not going to happen. AGC token will be listed on a Cryptopia exchange on the CoinMarketCap cryptocurrency listing platform, as also on single platforms as well. Right after that, we'll apply for the XJC token to be listed on Binance Exchange and other similar exchanges. The bounty hunt program will start, so anyone can apply, will be able to apply and get rewarded in XJC for providing the requested intel on the live spreadsheet on our website. From the 1st of May to the 1st of June, phase 3. We will expand our operations by conducting field investigations, and the target will be established by conducting community polls on our website investigations will also be filmed by a professional cameraman. We will secure partnerships with private investigation firms across the globe to secure better intel. We will upgrade our investigation software programs and start using biometrical facial recognition tools. Well, how very I cannot talk today. Totalitarian of you. We will create and migrate a brand new and superior platform which will integrate users' accounts, dedicate XJC wallet for each account, and will also serve as a social media platform for members to interact and create bounty hunter squads to chase bounty lists on the live chat integrated within the platform. We will develop our first investigation software tool and make it available for sale on our platform, Phase 4. They can't even get a really good looking website. I don't know how they're going to get all this crap going on. Not to mention the hiring of developers. This can be a tremendous expense. When all they simply had to do was just put up a bounty, I guess, of X amount of Bitcoin for X amount of information. Join us, upload evidence, download evidence, contact, external investigation, Bitconnect, press appearance. So what Dr. Ron Murphy's YouTube videos on BCC. Please click on the button below to download the full archive of all the 40 YouTube videos of Dr. Roy Murphy promoting Bitconnect. He deleted all those videos in order to cover his track, as any involvement with Bitconnect in the case the authorities or the government investigation escalates the Bitcoin scam situation. While the crypto watchdogs have been given the full video collection by an anonymous source of intel, who we would like to thank again for their efforts. And through this download feature, we want to give access to the whole community to use evidence against Dr. Roy Murphy in any legal investigation or class action lawsuit conducted. Along with a collection of 40 deleted YouTube videos made by Dr. Roy Murphy, we also received another video which has been deleted with Dr. Roy Murphy in 2015 promoting his own ICO called Hashcoin. This is the only known video to show Dr. Roy Murphy without him hiding behind a thumbnail. We also included the podcast video with Jet Knight, in which he claims he works for MI5 and revokes passports. The pack of video evidence is protected under the terms and disclaimers of the Crypto Watchdog disclaimers. So this is going to be a bit of a shit show. This is going to be very dangerous. I'm surprised they only have Dr. Roy Murphy and no one's put, Trevon James, Crypto Nick, Craig Grant, or any of the other Bitconnect promoters up here, or even the Bitconnect video promotion video of their little, they had like a little event in Thailand. They also had a meetup in Miami. So that's pretty much it. I want to just kind of cover the origins of the assassination marketplace, how it came about, assassination politics, why I was talking about it a bit earlier, because of this Bitconnect story and these crypto watchdogs, how this is very dangerous, how this can lead to people taking things into their own hands. The fact that they're generating their own coin is a little silly. I don't see how this will benefit anyone or anyone at all. More importantly, I think that they should, even if this even becomes a legal case, leave it up to law enforcement, because obviously they have shown poor judgment in the past when it came to investing into Bitconnect, and now they want to now they want people to help contribute in investing into this token, if you will, like $100. if people have lost their life savings and lost everything, why are they going to give um, anybody, don't save $100 to track these people down? I mean, if they can't afford to pay rent, they're losing their mortgage, their house, their home, their jobs. Yeah, even still, this is not going to go very well. I'm not sure even if these BitConnect guys are going to be able to be fully tracked down anyways. They did their best efforts to obfuscate and hide their identities. They're maybe already in, they're already cashed out and already in like non-extradited countries. You're not going to see these guys again. They got everyone's Bitcoin. You traded Bitcoin for a useless token, and Bitcoin now is back up to $10,000. Up at the top, it was almost trading around $20,000. These guys have cashed out, and supposedly there was up to 1 million people using this platform. So who knows how much Bitcoin these guys got away with? $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in Bitcoin. That is a tremendous amount of money, and you're not going to see them again. I mean, if allegedly Trevon James had 111 Bitcoin from just all the referrals of being part of BitConnect, imagine what the actual promoters and owners of the scam have. So, yeah, it'd be very silly if somehow this stupid thing BitConnect somehow brought the very radical idea of an assassination marketplace into existence for such a deplorable thing in the first place to come into existence. It's, you know, scary in and of itself. But for something as stupid as BitConnect, ugh. So there you have it. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, share, comment below, and till next time, to the moon.